Hello everybody, it's the Alco Diesel Guy with a Will It Run for you, and, well, it is kind of a surprise. It's something I've been looking for a while. As you all know, as those of you who watch my channel know, that I'm not a fan of trying to convert these old Atlas RS3s to DCC. I'm just terrible doing it, and especially since now the engines are coming out with DCC and sound, new release from Atlas. I'm still waiting for that order, by the way, which I put in about 4 years ago this past June, so we'll see what happens if that actually ships. Again, this video is being made now in 2024, early October of 2024. Anywho, I did in fact find one of these RS3s for sale online with this bizarre VN paint name. Obviously, it's a custom railroad that someone made up, sort of a fantasy railroad from someone's model train layout. It's VN. It's equipped with a TSCS decoder, as you can see right here. I purchased this as is, and I paid about $50 for this. I think it was $40 and then plus some shipping. How I got this was pretty unique. I usually don't get involved in bidding wars if I can avoid it. Sometimes I have to. It's just no other way of getting some of this rare stuff. In this case, the person selling these items as is also put a buy it now, not a buy it now, pardon me, a best offer in there, and I went ahead and offered. I forgot how much on it. I think about $40 on it, and the person immediately accepted and shipped it out to me. That could be good or bad news. So I don't know if this thing works. You're seeing this as I'm seeing it. Let's go ahead and take a good look at it. Start with, I immediately noticed this thing has been upgraded to, and I saw this in the auction listing too, it's been upgraded to microtrains couplers as indicated by the fact it has these metal coupling hoses on the bottom, these brass coupling hoses. That's their trademark. They've been screwed down into position. This, again, is the older trim, I should point out. As we can see by the box, this is the Cutto Drive unit, I should mention, from way back in the day. I think this is a 1980s model. Get it out of here really carefully. Oh... and as good a shape as you'd expect for one of these. I think this one has a new pilot on it. These had open pilots, but actually, if you look very carefully, this does have a pilot upgrade on it. As you can see here, there's a piece that would, with a coupler conversion that was done, they put a special, the former owner put a special piece in here that covers this up. Usually this would just be a wide open pilot that would allow the coupler to swing back and forth. In this case, the coupler has been installed to the body. It's been screwed in place, as all of these should for these microtrains couplers. And again, just like on the rear end, we see the same thing's been done. There's this piece put in place to cover in the pilot. You can see there's a difference in the plastic's color. This is clearly newer than the rest of the frame. Again, the VN paint scheme. It's got the horns in place here. Again, all Atlas engines typically had the same horn arrangement. This is the Cutto did the same thing. The assumption was that all of the RS3s looked the same. And it's kind of hard to get your head around how many different railroads are in the United States and how many different options these engines had. Some of the RS3s, if you'll note in my video that I did way back in the day on that, and more modern, and the more modern one where I compared the old guard engines with the RS1, 2, and 3 to show how to differentiate them. Some of the engines had a smokestack in the front here. I should say a steam generator exhaust in the front here for the steam generator with the horn then put slightly to the side. Some of them just have it like this with a second horn facing this direction and the other one facing the opposite direction. That wasn't common because it was a lot more maintenance. It was a lot more maintenance, a lot harder upkeep. Mostly they had this pod that came up from the back of the cab and would have horns facing both directions. That was the more common option. This one again has the prototype, which is one horn on each side, which again wasn't used very much. I don't think many railroads, a few of any, actually ordered that option. There's some black paint I noticed here, a speck of that over here. I don't know if that was covering something up or something else. Let's take a look at the wheel condition on this engine. They look pretty good. They look like this is kept very clean by the previous owner. Again, I think, this is sold by a liquidator, one of these liquidator/dealers that buys these things. You can again see where the couplers were cut off from the truck here. Physically cut apart. The truck has been cut off right there. You can see also where that microtrain's coupler has been installed. You can also see the fuel tank is unlabeled. I believe these had Atlas written on them in later years, which essentially used a very similar drive that would be kept for years to come, even when they were upgraded to DCC. All the railings are in place. Front railing, as I showed, the back railing, the side railing. Nothing's missing here. Nothing's damaged. Appears to be in good shape. Here's actually an interesting thing. This caused a little bit of a controversy with one of my videos. Someone thought that this meant that the turbo was leaking. In fact, this is a radiator exhaust. So on some of these RS3s, you'll see steam coming out. That's because the engine's being worked very hard or it's really cold, because that's literally the exhaust for the radiator right over here. It's in a weird place. Some engines actually had a pipe that went up around the side. The Winchester and Western had one of those. I've got some footage of that engine running as the Winchester and Western, when they ran Alcos. They haven't run them in a while. tended to put them at hard throttle, and they would often get stuck on the hill because they often had underpowered trains because they ran the railroad on a tight budget. The tracks were in appalling condition, so a lot of times there'd be steam coming out of that hole. In this case, you don't see it. Anywho, without further ado, let's give this thing a try, which I'm sure is what many of you want to know. Will it run? That's the question I have. Again, I have not tried this. I promise you. I literally, as you saw, just pulled it out of the plastic. I don't know whether or not this will work. I don't know whether or not I've wasted my money. It's as is, so whether or not this works, I'm still buying it. I still own it. Let me go now and connect my DCC system up. I'm going to use the old MRC system on this again. Unhook this because I was using my analog power pack Buzzy again, which I still have not gotten rid of. I've got to replace that thing. I have one. I just haven't gotten around to it. I've just been kind of busy lately. Let's hear my main track plug. Let's go. Main track plug. Main track plug. There we go. And there it goes. Okay. Now I just need to get connected up here. There we go. Plug this in here. Okay, so I'm all hooked up. Let's turn the power on and see what she does. Oh, it's already on. No smoke. That's a good sign. The light is on. It's not making crazy buzzing noises, so very clearly this does have DCC on board. It is factory numbered to 8. It is, well, not factory numbered. It is numbered to 80. It does not respond to the factory address because, unfortunately, my DCC system's in this weird habit where it stays on certain addresses, and I don't know why. I can't clear the memory on it. It just doesn't cooperate, but it does work well enough for that. This is this Prodigy Express I use. Anywho, right now I've got address 3. Let me go ahead and change this. I don't know why this is hard to see on this particular camera. Let's go and change this one to number 80, so I can get control of this one. Hit enter to activate it. There we go. Now I've got control. So we have the short hood headlight on. Again, just a note: the RS3s were typically set up with the cab in the back. In fact, that's how they all were pretty much set up. Some of these engines got modified later in life where they moved the cab to the front. And all they did with the short end, and really all they really didn't move the cab, I should say. They cut the nose down and simply redesignated that short hood for the front. But these older engines, and the older guys, I should say, all had the cab long hood forward, because that's how steam engines were made, and that's how diesel engines were made for the time being. This would change when it was found that there were visibility issues, and it was more appropriate to sort of keep the crew at the front, even though there were some railroads that kind of rejected this. One of the videos I've been working on right now, you've probably seen with that Norfolk Southern high nose B32-7 had the high nose engine on it. It's a Norfolk Southern unit that has a high nose engine. Reason for the high nose there is that the company believed that would somehow be better in collisions, and that's why the company stuck with those. That's been debunked that it really doesn't help very much. Whatever the case, that's what they had. Anyway, long story short, that's basically what's going on there. I digress. Let's get into running. So let's see here. Right now I'm in reverse. Let's go forward. Actually, I wasn't forward. It's not responding. That's not good. The headlight is not responding to my commands. Can I turn the headlight off? Unless this is stagnant, that's not a good sign. It doesn't move either. I'm throttling up and down. Nothing's happening. I have 80 and I'm right now running on 80. That's not a good sign. Let me make sure. No, I would be on the right one because then it wouldn't work. Let's go to 3 again and see if that does anything. Nope, nothing. It might be on a different address. Let's go 8. I'm thinking the person had a basic DCC system. Let's try locomotive number 1. Loco 2. Loco 3. Loco 4. Loco 5. Loco 6. I hope this thing works. If not, I've just wasted a lot of money. Loco 7. I think I'm going to now just reprogram this thing because I think I'm wasting my time. Let's just try 10. Nope, nothing. So I'm going to assume, let's do one more Loco 1 and just see if that does anything. And one last one, Loco 2. So I'm trying all these different addresses I should mention in here, and nothing is working. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to reprogram this. Since I don't know what address it's on, I can't program it on the main. So let's go ahead and pull this plug out and switch this for my program track plug here. So I love about using Bachmann Easy Track here. This is one of its main advantages. You can just plug things in and plug them right out. I can use my test track as a programming track. Just going to go ahead now and plug this in here. If I can get it to cooperate. There's some slight revisions I noticed in these plugs. They're supposed to be compatible, but I noticed some of them are less compatible than others. You have to turn them around sometimes to get them to fit, even though the plug layout is supposed to be the same, 2 prongs on each side. Alrighty, let's now try to reprogram this to number 80 because that's its road number. So let's go program track, enter 80. I'm just going to do that as a programming thing and see what happens. Could hit enter here. Just show you, do it off, see what happens. Oh, it jerked, so that's good. Let's see if it now worked. Loco. Let's go to 80. Thinking someone changed the address in it. Now I notice the headlight is out. Oh, and it might help if I actually changed my plug now because it's not going to work unless I go back to the main track power supply. So let's go back and plug in my main track power connection. There we go. And let's try her out again. Right now, again, the short hood light is on. Let's try reversing. Ah, now it's working. The front headlight came on now. Back is on now. I've got control of it. Looks like it either lost its address or was programmed to some weird custom address. It looks like the person who converted this kept this DCC system kind of basic. Not criticizing that. It's just how it works. Even though it says 80 here, I'm wondering how that was done. I tried 8, it didn't work. I tried 80, it didn't work. Let's see if we can make her move now. So let's go forward. And forward, it looks like they have set up as the short hood, which is incorrect. Yep, there it goes. It's actually in pretty good shape. It runs a little rough, but that's typical of these older engines. Yeah. Alrighty, so that is a runner. How do you like that? So it's a little rough. It might need lubrication. I don't want to lubricate these. I generally try to avoid that. If something gets stripped out, then I'll just replace the gears 9 out of 10 times, but this does work. So, I have a running engine, and I got a pretty good deal on it. So, the answer, will VN number 80 run? Yes, it will. RS3, I should say, VN 80 to run. Yes, it will. And, yep, I've got a nice little addition to my railroad. I even have the coupler conversions done. Oh, one little detail I did notice here. The coupler screw goes right through the run through the actual front railing area here, the porch railing area here. The screw goes through it. Not a big deal, but just I noticed it. But, well, you have to give something up in order to make them work. So anyway, that's going to do... Anyway, so will it run? Yes, it will. And that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If not, thumbs down. Please like and subscribe as always, and keep the metal side down. Meantime, this is going back in its box so it can get ready for the next time I use it.